Welcome you all. I am Baron Baptiste. Welcome to Disrupt the Drift. This is a place where we can tell the truth and the truth can be told. Welcome to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube at Disrupt the Drift, or if you're listening on audio, welcome. And I want to talk to you today about how to be free in a reactive world. How to be free within yourself. How to have freedom within yourself in a reactive world. And what do I mean by a reactive world? I'll say it like this. Consider that we're living in a vortex. And the vortex is with all of the noise in the world. There's all the political division. There's the fear that is just present in the media. If you watch the news, there's just fear mongering all the time. Social media, all the noise on social media, all the narratives, all the different takes on life, all the just noise, a lot of noise. Where else is there noise? People in your work environments, people in your life, friends. And people sharing whatever's going on with them. Either people have a front, everything's great, everything's fine, or you have people that are just in their grievances. We're living in a world of grief. It's part of the culture now, is this grievance culture, victim culture, tear down culture, all the divisiveness that all comes around and along with the vortex. So how to live, so to speak, like how to be in it, in the world, in the vortex, because we live in the vortex, but not of it. How to be yourself and how to be free within yourself without compromising who you are and also your own response to the world. So the vortex, let's just say this about the vortex. The vortex wants us reactive. The vortex wants us weak, angry, frustrated, depressed, anxious, scared, bound up, resigned and cynical, not free. It doesn't want us free. I'd like to just say that freedom is what God gave us at birth. We were born with the potential of freedom or an access, a natural freedom. We're born with it and we have it right now. We have it with us. The freedom is available within us all of the time, everywhere, with anyone, no matter what you're dealing with, inside of the vortex or out. But freedom is something that God gave us. Reactive is what the vortex has made us as a humanity, as a collective, as human beings. You could feel it. So if you're present in your own life and present to yourself, you're present to this reactive energy, this reactive, darker undercurrent, like sub-world of energy that humanity is swimming in right now. And it's not that we lack, how do I want to say this? I'll say it, we have a lack of mental and spiritual fitness, not a lack of freedom. We have freedom, but we don't live from it. We lack the spiritual and mental fitness to keep us bound up and reactive inside of the vortex. But as we develop this inner fitness, the mental musculature, fitness of your inner witness, the ability to be objective, to observe, to watch your own thoughts, to watch and observe your own body states and processes, to be able to watch the emotions that come up. Are they your emotions? You have emotions. You and I have emotions. Are we our emotions? Do we have them, or do they have us? And is there a way to step back and develop this fitness of your inner witness and watch all of the internal states and your own reactive states? Someone says something that they shouldn't say, someone does something they shouldn't do, and then you get triggered. It's like you're a walking reaction waiting to happen when you're not present to yourself. When you're not present to yourself, you just live as though all your thoughts are your own, and you're interacting with your thoughts morning to night in a commentary, a narrative in your own head, and you don't have any space from it. There isn't any freedom from it. The emotions that come up and are there as in daily life, do you have them or do they have you? If there's no space, no objectivity, then the emotions have you, and it doesn't leave you with any alternatives, any other pathways or other frames of reference, other views of yourself, life, a situation. You're in a reactive state in your own head, reacting to your own thoughts, or you're reacting to the thoughts of someone else. And in the world, the vortex. So I want to talk about the enemies of freedom, at least some of the enemies that I see that are really obvious to me. And I want to point out some of the enemies that if you start confronting how these enemies have you, you begin to have them and hold them rather than them holding you, having a grip on you. The first enemy of freedom is making fear your master. And people do this all of the time. So fear, we have fear. There's a natural fear. If someone walks up to you with a knife, yeah, fear is appropriate. If you're walking down a nature path and a bear jumps out on the path, fear is a natural, appropriate response. But fear on its own is just fear. It doesn't have a story to it. It's just whatever you want to call it. Is it an energy? Is fear an emotion? I think it's more than an emotion. It's a force within us, fear. The problem with making fear your master is when you're living from, okay, you have fear naturally, but when you start putting your imagination, fantasy, imagination in the head, you have fear of threats or things that aren't actually even happening. They're happening in your imagination. They're happening in your thoughts, in your head, but they're not actual things that are happening to you as a real threat to your existence. Now, the fear, making fear your master, you know what that is. If you check right here, do you have fear? And how much of your fear is really based in reality, or and where and how is fear stopping you? Maybe there are things you want to be doing in life, or maybe you want to be a certain kind of person in life, but that you have fear that if you were to live that way, you have then all the reasons, all the assessments of why you can't live that way. But fear is the master puppeteer in the background pulling the strings. If you see fear as something that uses you, okay, if you can start seeing that fear is using you and you're somehow making it more important than who you want to be in life or doing what you want to do in life, then you're making fear your master. You're making fear more important than what you say is important to you, what you really want for yourself, or what you feel like you're being pulled, like your creator, your God is calling you in a direction, yet fear's got a grip on you and you're not living true. And you're in your imagination of all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't, or you're not ready, you're not prepared enough. You need to take more seminars or read more books, or you need to somehow prepare for the day so you can do what you want to do and be who you want to be, in the sense that when you're ready someday. But again, freedom is available right here. When you come out of the head, you get quiet, you get still, you press pause, you drop into your body, and you fall awake. You wake up, you open your eyes, you open your ears, You start to really see and connect to what's actually going on with yourself and get honest about it. Tell the truth about it. The truth makes us free. When you start telling the truth that, oh yeah, I could be bold. I could be true and go have those real conversations with people, or start moving the needle in the direction of those things that I want to do in life, that I feel pulled to do, that I feel called to do. But you start noticing the fear, the master deceptor, but it's really the voice in the head, it living in the imagination that is the great deceiver. It's a place of evil, we could say. Evil is spelled backwards, is lived, like living life. The life you feel and know inwardly is a life you should be living, yet you're giving into fear, making fear your master. Another enemy of freedom is resentment and judgments. When you resent someone else, we call that resentment and judgment over another. You're holding a sword over someone else, some situation, some group of people. That resentment and judgment you're holding over others, you inherently are holding over yourself. You're not free in yourself. Maybe you blame, it's their fault, they're to blame. Maybe you're being the victim. Maybe you're being in the matter, meaning like playing God, being judge, jury, and executioner. And you're living in kind of grievance about outside sources, outside forces. Other people are responsible for the experience you're having of your own life and self. And the other side of it is there's regret. So resentment's and judgment on another or something outside yourself. Regret is when you resent and have judgment over yourself. And in that regret, and you experience that you're not living true. You're not living the life that you were, whether born to be, maybe God's plan for your life, maybe something greater than yourself. And the regret becomes a judgment, a resentment against yourself. Again, there's no freedom in that. What does it take to give up resentment? What does it take to give up judgment? And that energy of resentment and judgment, it's got to go somewhere. It's either being pointed out to circumstances, to people, to other things outside of yourself. And when that energy isn't going out, being aimed outward, it turns inward. It turns in on you. It's an energy, a force, a dark force, an enemy of freedom. It's an enemy of you living true. What do you need to give up? What do you need to let go of? What or who do you need to forgive? To forgive, forget. Maybe you don't forget, but you forgive. You give it up. You get off it. You let it go. And forgiveness is a freedom. I know in my life when I have forgiven others for things, whether it's betrayals or they didn't do something they should have done or they did something they should not have done. And when I forgive, it's pretty amazing. In that moment, I'm forgiven. I'm in the experience of, wow, I forgave. And I'm also forgiven. Something is given as I give. Forgiving, it's forgiving, right? It's of giving. It's of an act of generosity. You're not forgiving to get something, but you are given something. You're given an inner freedom. So, yeah, freedom comes through forgiveness. Giving things up, letting things go is also a health secret. You get your health back. You get the light back into your eyes. You're given in that new free space, you're given an access to your conscience, what I like to call, God's voice, that inner conscience, that inner knowing, that higher intuition, that inner guiding light. You're given that back when you give things up and you start living bigger, truer, up to something bigger than just protecting your ego, defending your position or positions, defending how right you are, how wrong they are. When you give all that up, you're given something. You're given a gift called freedom. Another thing is enemy of freedom is consuming and numbing. Consuming, just taking in the inflow, whether that's the media, that's negative, gossipy kind of conversations that degrade you within yourself. When you're engaging in those kind of conversations, consuming, whether it's conversations, whether it's just scrolling through the deadness of social media, and you're consuming. You're just buying things you don't need to impress people you don't even know or don't even like, but you're trying to win some kind of approval. And that's its own kind of consumption. You're going along to get along. That kind of consumption, the inflow of data, the inflow of information, the inflow of what you know is not healthy. Consuming the wrong kinds of foods, whether what you're putting in your mouth, what you're putting into your ears, what you're letting into your being, the kind of people you spend time with, people around you. Are there people that pull you down or keep you in this negative kind of dark energy and this force that degrades you at the level of your own dignity and inner essence? Consuming and then numbing. Why do we numb? People numb in thousands of ways. People numb themselves. And you know what that is. If you just look at your own life, how do you numb yourself? Anesthetize yourself. And what do you get from numbing yourself? If you look, it's probably you get some freedom, short term, in the moment. You're numbing hurt. You're numbing all of those resentments and judgments and the inner conflict that causes and the guilt that causes. You're numbing to get some relief, some freedom, but that kind of freedom, it's freedom from your own conscience and your inner knowing. It's freedom from experiencing what you're needing to experience in order to grow in life. In life, we're either expanding or we're contracting. Life's not static. Life is organic. Life's not linear. It's organic. So when we relate to whatever we're experiencing as a linear, fixed thing, and we just need to numb ourselves from that inner pain, yeah, we get some immediate relief in numbing. In the big picture and the long game of life, it's costing you real freedom. It's costing you real potential in life. It's costing you living true and being the authentic you, the God-given you. So one other thing I'll say is living inauthentically. And when I say living inauthentic, people will say, no, I'm totally authentic. What are you talking about, Baron? I'm totally authentic. I tell people I'm honest with everyone. I tell them straight what's going on in my mind, what's going on. I'm on it, but I'm not talking about honesty here in that sense, because you can be honest and go around and tell everyone or people in your life, you're being straight with them. You tell them what's going on, but to a degree. And I'm talking about what's going on underneath all of that. Living inauthentically, Maybe you're someone who's just caretaking of others all the time. You're just doing other things for others all of the time, and you're resentful about it. You're upset about it. You're frustrated. You're exhausted. But what you say is, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. But no, what's actually going on, in fact, is inwardly, you're frustrated. You're fearful. You're exhausted. You're not being true, beginning with yourself. There's a cover up. There's a kind of hiding. There's a shield you have up. And then you go around and you're honest with everyone, but you're honest on a surface level. Maybe you're bitching and complaining and living from that in an honest way, but you're not dealing with the inauthenticity underneath it. Maybe you're someone who it's just a blind spot to you. Again, you're listening here and you're saying, what are you talking about? I'm totally authentic. Maybe, but maybe probably not. Most human beings, you and I, we were born into a world of human beings that are fundamentally inauthentic. And they're inauthentic about being inauthentic. They don't really come from truth. And the truth, consider that the truth is the antidote. And again, this is where fear comes in, because if you really were to be truthful, you're in your imagination about, if I'm really truthful and I'm really authentic about what's going on underneath with your boss, your employee, your kids, your partner, your husband, your wife, your siblings, if you were really honest, truthful about what's really going on, what you've been covering up, your imagination is telling you, no, you can't do that. You'll lose everything. People will get upset with you. People will reject you. People won't want it to have anything to do with me. People won't like me. People will gossip about me. People will attack me. Maybe all that's true, but so what? If it's costing you your life and living true, put truth first. Truth, yes, it opens us up. When we start living true and putting truth first, it opens us up. It makes us vulnerable. It opens us up to attack. It opens us up to losing what we have been holding onto and containing and controlling our environment, controlling people's perceptions of us, managing perceptions. Because when you get truthful, it puts you on a path of adventure. It puts you into the unknown. You've heard me say it before, and it's in one of my books, but the question is not, will I survive if I step out of the comfort zone? The real question is, will I survive my comfort zone? And the truth is, the comfort zone is a deadening place. And it takes a lot of energy and life force to keep the container of the comfort zone held together, keeping it all together. You turn into a control freak. You're controlling everything, and you lack freedom. But the truth sets us free. We all know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So again, fear and that living in that from that imagination, the fear, that's a factor. The other is this judgment that we have where we are right and we're in a kind of righteousness, righteous indignation that we get a false kind of power from, that it's a false power, being right, making others wrong, living in that judgment energy. But when you're being the judge, you are playing God, and you're not God. There's something greater. What if you were to repent of all that, give all that up, and live from something greater in yourself that, yes, will take you on a path of adventure, but you get yourself. And in adventure, you discover who you are. You discover what's possible. You discover what's true, and you can, in adventure, the challenge that adventure presents to us is the friction we need, just refining, shining off, polishing off a diamond. It requires a kind of friction. But when you put yourself out there, yes, it's risky, but you stick your neck out. You start living true. You stick your neck out. It's true. People will come for you. You'll be stirring the pot. You'll be disrupting the drift. And what's the alternative? Just live in the comfort zone, play safe, where in that comfort zone, there's a slow kind of death. I say in the comfort zone, it's not that we're dying. It's actually we're dead in there. And the truth is what brings us back to life and aliveness. And it's at the edge, just like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon with your 10 toes right over the edge of the Grand Canyon. You lean forward. You just see cliffs thousands of feet below you. It's alive life, and you are alive at the edge. But when you keep stepping back from the edge, playing it safe, controlling, it's deadening, and it is certainly not free. What is most important to you that you say is important to you, and who you want to be, what you want to be up to in life, who you want to become? As Shakespeare said, you know who you are and not who you could be. What's really at the edge of adventure, sticking your neck out, start living true, speaking true, putting truth first, is where we discover who we could be. It doesn't happen inside of the comfort zone and in controlling life at every step. So what is on the other side of all of those enemies? So we know what's inside of all of those enemies, inside of the vortex, and those enemies thrive inside of the vortex. You're a walking reaction, and anyone comes along who says something or does something, you're just a jack in the box ready to launch. That is a shame spiral. That is a black hole. That inside of the vortex and being and living in reaction to the vortex, we know what that gets us. We all know. But what's on the other side? If you're aiming high in life, you're aiming true, you're putting truth first, you're going for adventure, you're being at risk, disrupting the drift. What's on the other side of that? All those enemies and living a reactive life is freedom. Consider that. It's freedom. It's not what our imagination and our thoughts and fantasies tell us. It lies to us. The voice in the head says, no, if you step out, you're not going to be free. You're going to be taken out. But consider that's just more of the same inside that's the narrative inside the head, inside of the vortex, inside of a reactive life. The truth of it is that what's on the other side of all those enemies is being in the vortex, but not made of it. Again, freedom God gave us. Reactive is what the vortex has made us. What's on the other side, you start getting true. You stop numbing. You start getting authentic about where you're being inauthentic in life. You stop making fear your master. You stop numbing and consuming, and you know what that is for you. You know exactly what you're doing to numb, or you're consuming to numb. You know what you're doing there. What if you were to step in front of all that? What if you begin to live true? What could be available to you? and I say freedom, then part of the journey, when we start taking on these enemies, these old ways of living, these old habitual patterns that keep us bound up, there's a natural pain. When we repent, when we lay down an old life, pick up a new life, there's a kind of pain there that we experience. But as Khalil Gibran said, the pain you feel is the breaking of the shell that encloses you. But that's to me, a certain kind of pain, because there's the pain that just comes along with living a reactive life and then needing to numb that pain and avoid that pain and cover up and hide that pain and pretend we don't have fear when we do, pretend we're not angry and resentful when we are. That has its own kind of pain. But when we lay down those old ways of being and acting, there's a pain. But in that pain, and we experience that pain, and we're willing to get quiet and get still and experience what we're experiencing in that pain as we give things up. We confront it. We allow for it. We let it be, and it lets us be. But that pain, when we experience it, it's good news. There's a sadness, when we see we've been living a certain way in life, there's a sadness, but there's also right there a gladness. Like we're glad we're coming to truth. We're coming to a new way, a new life. And in that kind of pain is a medicine. It's like we take our spanking, so to speak, that pain, but when we're willing to be with it and be responsible for it, not in reaction to it, but responsibility as the ability to respond. And sometimes the best way to respond is no response at all, to just be with something in yourself. But that, and coming from a pure intent, you're up to something greater, you're coming back to self and truth and conscience. That kind of pain is the pain that we feel, that is the breaking of the shell that has been enclosing us. But pain is a part of the process. You can, again, keep numbing the pain, or you can come face to face with it and experience it. So to wrap up here, the 4 cornerstones really to reclaiming freedom: truth first. Be authentic about where you're being inauthentic. Get real about it. Maybe start from the place of, every bone in my body is in from total humility. And when you come from total humility and curiosity and a willingness to know and discover and understand, you gain an understanding, and you begin to see that, wow, I'm holding on to stuff. I'm holding on to these old grudges and resentments toward my mom, to my father, my exes, my old boss, people in life. People have betrayed you. But when you start giving those things up and you forgive, you are giving yourself a gift, and you're given a gift, the gift of freedom. And lastly, stand in your true north. Get present to your body. Again, just pause, drop into your body right here. Get present to your pulse, your heartbeat, your feet on the floor. Get present. And when you get present to a greater presence, a presence of love, the presence of joy, the presence of just generosity, someone who's willing to give up and give forth and hand things up and hand things over and hold nothing back, you suddenly gain something within yourself that I'm calling your true north, your inner compass, the conscience within you, that inner knowing that you then follow in life. Once you connect to your conscience, then you follow the calling of your conscience, the inner promptings, those intuitive hits. You're given direction in life. You discover purpose in life. You are guided from the center, the ground of your being, and you live true. It's not logical necessarily. It's rational. We know living reactively is irrational, but you start coming back to your sensibilities and your inner sense, your inner knowing, which leads to a freedom in life, a freedom in yourself. So, two things. I'll say this, I'll leave you with this. When someone shoots an arrow, don't be there. Or as Gandhi said, I refuse to allow anyone to walk through my mind with their dirty feet. I refuse to allow anyone to walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Yeah. When someone shoots an arrow, don't be there. When you're in that reactive state, when you identify too much with your ego, and again, someone crosses you, or someone shoots an arrow at you, you're right there to defend, to to control, to fight, flight, freeze, reaction. But when you're present, standing in your true north, someone shoots an arrow, you're open, you're undefended, and you let that arrow move right through you. And in that moment, you have the freedom to choose your response. You'll see many alternatives in the moment, alternative ways to respond to a situation. Maybe you need to speak up. Maybe you need to just tell truth in that moment. Maybe you need to say nothing. Maybe there's nothing to do, nothing to say, but you'll be given guidance in that moment because you're connected to that inner higher guidance, that guiding light. And you'll be prompted what to do in the moment in real time. And you trust the words will be given to you of what to say. The promptings of what to do in a moment will be given to you. And you trust that. And I'll leave you with this quote from the book of Abraham. God is the voice that calls you to adventure, and the most devout path is the path with the highest adventure. I'll say it again. God is the voice that calls you to adventure, and the most devout path is the path with the highest adventure. So I invite you to take on this path of adventure, to step out of the comfort zone that's killing you and has no real freedom for you. Adventure is the way to freedom. And it begins within yourself, coming to truth, getting real, look in the mirror, get quiet, get still, get present, and let freedom unfold. All right, you all. Thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave comments. Love hearing from you. If you want to send in any questions for me to respond to, send them to disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com, disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com. Until next time, I'm Baron Baptiste. Peace out. Stay bold. Stay true. Keep disrupting the drift. And peace be with you.